All right, everybody, welcome to another Founder Roundtable. I'm really excited for our guest today, Dani May. She's an awesome marketer. I've had the pleasure of working with her in the past, and I'm excited for her to introduce herself and be a part of the conversation. So Dani, please introduce yourself there.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, pleasure to be here. I have worked at a lot of really large retailers, but within all of them, doing the new growth areas, or basically a startup within a large organization. And my focus has actually spanned across a lot of different areas of operations. And then for the last 8 years, really focused on marketing strategies, digital and in real life, and especially with areas that can certainly start to hit a plateau when you start to exhaust certain areas that perform well at one time but are not the solution for the future. And so that's what I love to do and love to work on, and also a lot around the ways that we work in marketing too. So anything around processes or best practices is something that I'm passionate about.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. And so I'll go ahead and kick off the conversation. And as you all know who participate, this is meant to be an open discussion. I'm not the moderator. I'm just helping guide us through the conversation. So if you want to ask each other questions, give each other advice, ask Dani questions, Dani can lead as well. Go ahead and have at it. But kind of what I guess we'll start at with is that, who here considers themselves a marketer, or who feels like they have like that marketer skill set, and, kind of just tell us a little bit about that. And then the opposite side, who feels like scared of marketing, and why do you feel scared of marketing?
I'll go first. I feel like a complete rookie. I've never had to worry about finding people on social media or make sure they know we exist so that they can make a choice, a buying choice about our product. This is specifically for the space table, which folds away. That is a great consumer product. And I don't have much success at this point. We're running some modest Instagram ads. I don't know if we're not converting people to buying because the price is too much, or the product isn't right, or if I suck at marketing. I'm hoping it's the latter.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Anja, are your ads, so you really captured me when you were talking about the company you have, and we essentially facilitate peace at the household, so you don't kill your kids. And that was an amazing hook. Maybe not quite as blunt, but the emotion.
Did it hit close to home?
It hits close to home for everybody right now. And so I guess my first question is, with your ads right now, are you leading with product, or are you leading with kind of the emotion?
I think I'm making that mistake, that I'm leading with the product. And, I just, I'm definitely leading with the product. And I also have barely any funds, which is not helping either.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do an ad in those platforms really on the cheap. I'll just tell you, I just did a Hulu ad, like a full-on commercial for $500 with just a couple of people in house. We just had to meet the specs, and it took us like 2 days.
Okay.
Will you talk about that? Because I tell us a little bit about that experience, actually, because I saw that ad. And
have you seen it already?
Well, no, sorry, I didn't see your ad. I saw Hulu's ad for $500, and I'm like, that just feels too good to be true, because I'm going to start throwing like $500 every couple of days at that. But okay, well, how does that work?
Two different things, actually. What you're talking about is the Hulu self-service platform.
Yeah.
And that is something in beta right now, and I can't vouch, but I do think it's great. It's going to be for people who have free or the $5.99 package. The majority of Hulu's audience group, about almost 70%, actually buy the $5.99 package, which means they still see commercials, but they just have unlimited access to Hulu originals and everything else. The free package, they don't have unlimited access, and it takes 2 days to see the show from last night versus one. Mm-hmm. But it's really good to know that is the majority of their platform. There are still people who are watching the commercials. When I say I spent 500, that was because, so I was working with their integrated marketing team on essentially what is, any other brand's commercial, whether it's, Third Love is one of our competitors, or even like Xbox. So same spot Xbox has, we have same specs, but we did it on like a dime. We did it with just how do we take some existing content we do, um, and this is no agency involvement, but just have who has the skills. So I have like somebody who is a master at analytics who happens to also be really great at sound and sound quality because he's got a band on the side. So like, how do we leverage some of the talents that we have to come together and build a commercial that's ready to go? And some of it was like, friends and family, like, okay, we need another shot to fill space. So and so go meet with the person that does our photography, and let's get that rolling. And it was 24-hour turnaround kind of thing, and it ended up looking pretty great. And I'm happy to share it with you guys. I can send it over to you through a WeTransfer or something.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a matter of pulling all the resources that you have, and something really fun. Like who doesn't kind of, even if they don't work for you, want to be in part of a Hulu commercial? It sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm kind of bummed that you didn't invite me to be a part of it. I'm just kidding.
Well,
but so
time.
to clarify though, your cost to Hulu was $500 for the commercial?
No, our cost to make it.
Oh, your cost to make it was $500.
Yeah.
Got it.
But one thing that's really important for you to know about Hulu, if you ever want to go that route, they only charge you for an impression that has a 100% completion rate of the commercial. So even though you might see numbers like 50,000, 25 actually is a point, and up, you have the flexibility that if you're not seeing results really fast, you can stop. And again, they're not going to hold you to a certain dollar amount, unless you're getting the impressions and it's full completion and you're satisfied with it. So I found the relationship to be very, very positive. And the results were only 2 days out, very positive. But that self-service platform, I think, is going to be really a big.
Yeah, and because that's what I was curious about, because they have advertisements where they say like you can post a video for 500, but I wasn't sure on the details of that.
Yeah, so it's in beta, but they will be launching that mid-January to a wider set, and it performs just like Facebook. It's a little bit more modern. I mean, Facebook's interface is terrible. Theirs is a lot more user-friendly.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing around in the beta a little bit, and I think it's a wonderful alternative because streaming video, streaming ads is really where the market's going.
And does it play the same way as what you're talking about, where there's commercials ahead of time? You're just self-serving the commercial?
It depends. You won't have like premium placement.
Sure.
Their integrated marketing really does that. But if you target well, yes. Yeah. Like you just have to be real. I think you have to narrow your focus of your target to just get into the places that you think are really going to hit.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit you up on that later because I definitely want to try the self-serve. I mean, it's worth it to me.
Yeah, I'll give you a demo for no charge.
Cool. Awesome. So off of Hulu, we just did a big Hulu advertisement without getting sponsored by Hulu, but
I know.
Anyways, okay. So Anya, so that makes sense. And then who else wants to kind of share like what do you feel like confident in marketing? Is marketing scary? Like what side of the spectrum are you, and why do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm huge. I'm huge into content marketing. It flipped everything. I mean, sales, marketing, just makes it easier. People know who we are. We gave people a bunch of free stuff, meaning ideas with no ask, right? Like the idea you and I are talking about, this QVC, that was given free. And I had somebody hit me up and say, why didn't you make that into a product? And my first answer is that's not what we do. My second answer was, this is free and this is going to pay dividends. So, I mean, for us, if I had to do this all over again, I would do free content on the platforms where my customers are. The only thing I would pay for, and we're switching this up, like this money-making newsletter that hits sports people, they're getting to a point where the prices are ratcheted up. It makes sense. They're more subscribers. We have the highest click-throughs. But now what I'm starting to do is say, if this works on this newsletter, I can find a smaller niched one, pay less, and still hopefully get, some of that. So I think the biggest thing for me is talking with a lot of people, either on startups or even at big corporations. They want to dive into paid really fast. And we did that at first. In fact, we got our first 3 customers from paid LinkedIn ads, but the conversion rate on our LinkedIn ads is insane because I'm targeting people who have seen me for like 6 months, and all it took was, a video each week with a tip of the week, a podcast each week, and then just little nuggets here and there. And that has drastically dropped how much I'm paying for advertising to where honestly, like, we don't pay for advertising that much. It's a very, very small part of our budget. Now, at this point, I'm messing with, okay, we're not paying for advertising, but am I missing out on a huge opportunity because I should be dumping all of our free cash into advertising if it's working so well? So I think the big thing, yeah, it's like LinkedIn ads work. They take a little while to set up because we set up an entire customized landing page. So if we're targeting colleges, the messaging has all colleges. We're targeting a very specific pain point. We have to make you care. And then that emotional story goes through the landing page of, here's your problem, here's our solution, here's other teams that have used it. So it's a very high conversion rate, so it does take some time to kind of do that for each segment. But like, honestly, what sucks for me is, our LinkedIn is to a point where I just get messages. I post that we signed a team in a college space, and I get 4 messages from colleges just saying, I've followed your content forever. I saw you signed with this college. I didn't know you guys did work with colleges. And that has just, pushed that up. So like, I can't kind of advocate more for, it's going to take time. I mean, we've been doing content for about 1.5 years to get kind of to this point, but it paid off in dividends in the first part of it. It took us from a 2-person company to where we're stealing clients from 100-people companies.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Andy, can I ask real quick, what is a good conversion rate for you on LinkedIn?
Click-throughs or actual like conversions?
Well, actual click-through on the link that you have in there.
Yeah, so clicks, it matters how lazy I get in targeting. Sometimes I'll target every team in North America, and obviously that click-through rate is going to be like 1.2%.
Okay.
If I'm like going hard on colleges, I'll get to like a 3 to 5%. And that just matters. Am I hitting you with that message?
Right.
Are you having problems with couponing and you need to replace that? I honestly, I have no idea if that's good for LinkedIn. There's so many things kind of out there. We just kind of benchmark on ourselves. And then, our landing pages, we try to get 30 to 40% conversions just because we are that targeted. And then what I do is I say, okay, I spent this much based on the contract we just signed. Is it going to, return at least 4x, which our paid advertising is right now. So that's kind of the process I think through it. Admittedly, I could probably do a much better idea on
those landing pages. Are you actually customizing them like with the colors? So if you're doing like Humboldt State, you do like green and gold and like have the mascot running like specific stuff like that, or is it just? We used to go crazy.
We used to go crazy targeted, but LinkedIn got too savvy. You used to be able, if a team was big enough, just target one company. So I'd target Manchester United, and there would be a landing page with me sitting there talking and saying, hey, Manchester United, I know you have this sponsor, this sponsor, this sponsor. Guess what? Couponing costs on average this much. We only cost this much. Take this to your sponsor. Unfortunately, LinkedIn got really savvy and said okay, there has to be a limit. You can't just target a 30-person company and just hit them directly. So they switched that up. So for me, luckily at that time, that was very early when we didn't have a lot of clients. We're blessed now that we have really big logos. So now what I do is I play off that. So we get as nitty gritty to say, I have 2 Pac-12 schools. I'm going to target every Pac-12 school. And all of the examples are going to be the other Pac-12 schools, because the number one thing in my industry is it's just looky-loo. Oh, they're doing it. Oh, they're doing it. I want to do it too. So we get that nitty-gritty to where we'll go ACC, we'll go power basketball programs, we'll go smaller college. We found that if I show you Colorado State and you are, East Tennessee State, immediately psychologically you think, oh, that's too big for us. So I will literally hit you with a smaller college. So, and that's like, if you're going to pay, you might as well get crazy nitty gritty with a lot of content pieces and then find the one that works. And we kind of figured that out through minor league baseball. We did that our first
and then
test.
what would be like is that a CMO's job, or like what does that fall into?
That's a Nick Lawson job, because my co-founder codes and I don't ask anything else from him other than when clients have ridiculous things. So no, I mean, that's just me. I love hacking systems. So first, just understanding how the system works, then it's how do I fit into this? And kind of on a broader marketing scheme. When we first got into this, everybody said, you have to go to conferences, you have to go to do speaking engagements, you have to do webinars, you have to pay to get into big newsletters. And we did that, and we dumped a ton of money into it and got absolutely nothing and wasted a lot of my time. Flip that over to LinkedIn to say, look, instead of going to a conference, I'm just going to connect with everybody and then start putting content out and make my own conference on LinkedIn pretty much. Yep. And that has totally flipped. So that's all to say that, like, we came across this just by saying, I can't compete with our biggest competitor because they have more conference money than us. They were giving out like Apple Watches just for getting.
You can't give out Apple Watches?
No, I like for one business card, absolutely not. But I mean, they were dumping all this money in there. And I think the biggest thing for us was just, what are we strong at, which is kind of our mindset on this, and how can we be different to get the content out? And that's,
well, Nick, I want to jump in there for a second, because, everybody on this call, and, I say this a lot on LinkedIn and different channels, has heard me say that every single company needs to be a media company, right? And it's like, I think, Nick, you do, I commend you. You do such a good job. Squad is this technology company on the surface, but really you're a big media company. And because you produce like this really great content, and a lot of people just don't realize that, right? So they do all the things that you say. They go to conferences, they pay for ads, they do these things, expect to do what works. But what you're doing is you are bringing in the strategies in place that actually a lot of personal brands do, like like anybody that has like an instant following, and you're bringing that to the business world. And so now Nick becomes a personality. I'm invested in Nick, and then when Nick says things, I care about what he says, even though the stuff that you're saying in your channels doesn't really have to do with your product offering, right? You're building domain expertise across that. And so, I tell that to everybody, and we actually even work with a couple clients where we'll build out like that, what you do, like we build that out for them, because you're right. You get people going to your domain for that information, and then they look at other things. I mean, like, that's the whole reason why blogs are important for brands, for example, right? The only reason you have a blog is that so you can share that and people go back to your site and then they discover other stuff. Like, that's the only reason, right? And then it lives on forever. Same with your content.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may ask. Squad Sports, what is it that you're solving for?
Yeah, so
you mentioned your competitors, so I'm just curious, like.
Yeah, so when a sports team and really anybody that sells sponsorship, they go to brands and they're selling advertising basically in their stadium. Today brands, as you probably know more than anybody, and I used to sell sponsorship, and we go in that meeting and we'd say, we're going to give you this sign. It's getting in front of 600,000 people. And their next question is, well, how many convert to a sale? And my answer would be, well, somebody purchased. And then what we started getting was, well, I'm not going to pay you $1 million. I'm going to put $1 million in Facebook ads because they sell. So, they tell me that. So what we do is we create a scratch and win where fans are scratching, winning a prize, sends it to their email. And now I can tell you the entire process of, instead of handing out that paper coupon. Competitor wise, I mean, they're very small and niched. Game Changer MVP, Tradable Bits, which is out of Vancouver, BC. But, you know, they are very kind of focused in sports. One thing they're not focused in is sponsorship. Sponsorship was a tiny little value add on the side. So we really saw that and said, we're not going to go preach fan engagement. We're going to go preach sponsorship. So we kind of grabbed that niche, but yeah, we basically make it so that you can sell more advertising just through digital means that actually, you know, to be honest, our teams take those emails and then retarget, well, we tell them to, but they retarget them for on Facebook to get even more value after the fact.
I see. Okay. And do you ever get any pushback from the teams, or the teams have to approve the brands, or
Yeah, you know, pre-pandemic, we got a lot of pushback. People thought I was crazy by saying that brands are going digital, so you should be going digital. So I used to get a lot of comments on my content and in sales calls, very old school people who didn't want change. Pandemic, you know, we're blessed that the pandemic actually helped our business because you can't be in stadium. So we, you know, early on we used to get pushback, but honestly now we don't, just because usually when you're coming to the table with us, you're coming as, I've seen your content and I want you to solve my problem, as opposed to me going out to you and saying you need this product. So we don't get that. I say that, but you know, we do get pushback, but you know, honestly, it comes down to, I basically just say, here's 5 activations. You've given me your sponsor's goal. Go show them all 5. They'll probably buy 3. When they purchase 3, you roll that into your package and you pay me. So that's kind of our sales growth tactic with a lot of our partners.
Since you're not getting that type of pushback pre-pandemic, instead of looking at social, I would look at the Google's programmatic B2B platform, and just take a little look at that, because I think you might get a lot more benefit if you do want to go paid. I'm always the biggest proponent of, have you done every single thing you can do for free first? 100%.
I love that. It's so true.
It is very true. But then if you are looking at paid, I would take a look at that, because I do find that B2B has the most success in a more of a programmatic piece. And then you get to be a little more hands-off on team specific, and get to brand build more of squad sports instead.
By that, do you mean just search, and do you mean just search as far as Google goes, or banner ads?
It's their programmatic display. So when they start to see, it could be searches for businesses looking for marketing materials or things like that, you would appear, but it also would be in publications, sports publications. Gotcha. And and brands that have an alliance with a sports type of feel, whether it's like product or directly with like something like NBA Labs brands and stuff like that. And they're programmatic 3 years ago, I would say never mind, but it's come a long way.
Nice.
And so I think that might be a good avenue.
Okay. Yeah, definitely look into that. I mean, honestly, our competitors do absolutely nothing on digital. They are still very, they don't know what to do right now because they can't go to conferences, yet they're still paying these conferences to do a Zoom call when you could just do a LinkedIn Live for free. So it's, you know, we do have a lot of ground we can kind of build up before they figure this out. And I've been saying this for about a year. At some point, our competitors are going to figure out that I stole 4 clients from you because I got on LinkedIn every day and talked about sponsorship, but they just haven't yet. And I'm kind of waiting for that to happen.
Understood. I mean, it plays out very similar to like a JCPenney and an Amazon in many cases. Yeah, you have a huge advantage being digitally ahead right now.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a point in time where, you know, we all are on our 2nd vaccine and people want to see people in real life again, and then just, you know, get ready for a better IRL presentation than the rest of them have, because they'll be still, I guarantee you, still be showing the stuff they did 2 years ago.
Yep.
Hey, Dani, I have a question, sort of, I guess about publicity and marketing, but slightly different. So my company, basically, we sell trees, digital trees, but they're a digital twin of a real live tree in Oregon. So our like engagement rate is pretty high. We have like a 70% open rate in our emails. We have a small but like really engaged audience. Like we have like 250,000 people. I'm wondering like how we can grow that.
So
or basically how we can get our interested subscribers to tell their friends.
This is what I like about two things. One thing, I love the fact that you just said we sell digital trees, because I think it's a fabulous master tagline, honestly. Because one of the biggest contributors to carbon footprint is technology and you know, the rise of you know of that and digital kind of waste. So it's neat to hear that, because it's a bit juxtaposed. But one thing I think is really interesting is just the giving economy right now and how strong that's being built. There's a company called Shopping Gives that I recently engaged with, and they find organizations and they work with tons of retailers. They've been really vast, you know, Kenneth Cole, or they're working on some things with Adidas right now, where somebody's shopping their website and a percentage or a dollar amount of every single sale of any item goes towards an organization that's reducing carbon footprint. And that's not just the only ones. Like there's ACLU, there's Freedom Fund for LGBTQ law causes and things like that. But they don't have a ton of really amazing causes yet. I would say they probably have under 20. It's a great time to talk with, and I can put you in touch. Great time to talk and be one of those people, because they make all their money off the brands. They don't make their money off of the organizations. So the brands pay to have this platform, and 100% of what the giving is of those customers goes directly to the cause. So that could be something that it would be also really just good awareness of what you do, because they have a wonderful way of surfacing what does this brand do, or this company do, for the customer to choose where their money's going. And Jonathan, it's kind of similar to, in a way, to something we worked on in the past, where after the customer, you know, gets a receipt, like, because it's just by law, like, hey, you gave $1 or 10, or the company gave, you know, $15 or whatever it is. The customer actually has to get a receipt, but then they can opt in to see all of where their money goes, and be more engaged with your brand and more engaged in what you do, and send gifts and go to your website and stuff like that. So they get people to try to be on board and be more engaged past purchase. So that might be a neat avenue, because it's no cost at all for you, and can build some really great awareness as well.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yes.
Like if you can find people to basically do the work for you, right? That's really what you need, is because you amplifying your sound, you know, you're in the mountains of Oregon right now, and just you're backed up. But like, yeah, if you can find these people like Dani is mentioning, that, you know, are already talking to people who are looking for giving type of scenarios, you don't have to break that down for them anymore, right? Like they become your distribution channel.
Interesting. Yeah, and I mean it's a interesting model that we're running, because basically we're selling, as you said, Dani, digital trees are a little bit paradoxical, but the idea is we create a digital twin of a tree and we can sell that. And then there's a monthly subscription cost of like $1 or $2, depending on how much you pay up front.
Yeah,
like variable rate.
I think there's some really good partnerships for you too, with regards to that. On like, for example, slow fashion is a much more search term than fast fashion. And like, you know, 5 years ago it was all fast fashion, and you know, M&G and Forever 21 and things like that. Now slow fashion is the trend. So I think there could be some good adjacencies, and even for if you did get into some search, some paid non-branded key terms, so that when somebody's looking for sustainable fabrics, or you know, chemical-free laundry detergent and things like that, that you just happen to show up as well, because you have an interest group there of people that have a definite cause. very cause-based. And that
Interesting.
might be a cool way to triangulate that with limited, and my also just advisement on, if you do any type of paid search, set your budget to as much as you can, but put your cost cap, your costs, like your pay-per-click or whatever, to the lowest amount, because it actually makes that algorithm work a lot harder.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, just keep the cost cap super low, but spend as much as you can afford, and you're going to get a higher value.
Randy, how about you? Do you have any questions or things you want to kind of add to the convo? I'm putting you on the spot, sorry, but
I can't think of any questions right off the top of my head. The Facebook part, that's something we're going to grow into, and I'll probably, if you're available, Dani, I'd love to ask some questions about that. I was going to suggest, when you're talking about, when you're showing about the video, or that you made the video, I know this, I shared this information with you too, Jonathan, a while ago. With a friend of mine has this company called We Are Vicky, and they basically create videos or commercials for you at a very low cost. So it's kind of like using Pickle for your graphics and everything. In fact, they're doing a partnership with Pickle, so that Pickle can offer video, outsource video delivery or whatever, not just the delivery, but the creation of it through those guys. And so it's something, I guess, if you're doing video, it would be something to look into, because I think their price is something, maybe in the same price range, $500 to $1,000.
Nice. Yeah, and that's actually really good to know, because it gives you a certain sense of how much you can, like how little you can spend too.
Right.
So if you ever hear an agency say that's going to be $40,000, you can just scoff and walk away. Too. Randy, I had a thought for you also. I have, especially in the company I work with right now, dealt with a lot of, social negative feedback on things. And if you guys don't know TomboyX, it started out as queer founded, but it's underwear, loungewear, activewear, swim, but it has a huge LGBTQ following. But sometimes part of that community can be like some of the most volatile too. Like if you do something that's too feminine, oh my goodness, you just offended this group. And so we get a lot of like, that, and it's the internet. And so people can be nasty, period. That's just kind of part of it. But there's a really good kind of tactic, I think, that you could build upon, which is the story of all the people, all the restaurants and hospitality workers that need it, that build this economy, the entire United States economy, out of work right now, and really showing that your product is more to get us back on track, and get those people to be able to live the most fulfilled lives they have. And it's really hard for anyone to slam you for that. It's really hard for them to come after you and be like, I can't believe you're, showing people dining together.
Yeah.
When it's, obviously a very safe environment, but when you put it on the ownership is on the fact that people's lives are materially affected because that's not happening. Yes. I think it's a good offensive for you to go with. And then the people who are the haters, you can mute. By the way, mute is like my favorite thing on Instagram and Facebook. They will never know that you muted them. They still see their comment. They still see the people who added to their comment, but nobody else sees it. Right. So mute is your friend.
Thank you. That's really good info, really good advice. Yeah, it's been a little discouraging, only because we get commitment from venues to host it, and then other people start chiming in, and so and they're worried, and the venues are worried about the representation in the community, and we're pushing for community, to make sure the different restaurants are included. We even want our last location. The one that's hosting it asked us specifically that we exclude one restaurant because it's their competition. And I'm like, how can we do this? So
you can if they want to pay the other restaurant's fee.
Right.
Yeah, right. Upgrade.
And that's too, that, I mean, that's a business decision for you for sure, but it's also kind of makes me question, like, we're all in this together kind of thing. And do you even want that restaurant anyways? If that's, if they don't have an attitude of a communal benefit and getting everything back on track, then where are their values?
So
and you can guilt them into that, by the way. Don't be afraid to guilt them into that.
What's funny is that I actually use this analogy a lot, and this is like the direct aspect of it, is that, if you have a Mexican restaurant on one side of the street and you have a Mexican restaurant on the other side of the street, it's natural to say that they're each other's competition. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the Italian restaurant right next to the Mexican restaurant and the Japanese restaurant and then the American restaurant are also the competition, because you can only eat one meal at one time, right? So, it's I actually use that a lot and I relate that to technology, but like this is the direct. So it's kind of short-sighted to think of someone being your competition, whether it's the same type of food or not, because every restaurant is technically your competition, because you can only consume so much at one point.
Yeah.
That's true. When I was at Amazon, I had a lot of that issue with, because my first role there was with the fashion team. And so we would have these new designers, these competitors that didn't want to be like if you shopped on Amazon, I think most of us, you see those widgets that are like, see more like this or recommended for you and all of that. They didn't want their boot to be next to this person's shoe. But the way that those widgets work is it's what the customer wants to see. We don't really care. We're sort of brand agnostic, but the customer likes to shop Ralph Lauren and they also like to shop Calvin Klein. And so why would we exclude them from something they're interested in just because Ralph Lauren doesn't want it? And so our approach, and granted, this is, the 100-ton gorilla approach, but it works, for smaller groups too, is to say, well, we're going to get so many eyes on this, which is more than you're going to get on your website normally or to your business. And that's probably true with these restaurants that you're working with and are struggling a little bit. So either you can actually get those eyes through us or you don't. And I guarantee you every time they're going to say, no, we want your audience. We want to have that too. Yeah. And that's what happened a lot, because it comes a point where it's like, what's the right thing to do for the audience? What's the right thing to do for the customer? And that's where you and what you're creating really like comes in to kind of shine a light to.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we're almost out of time here, so love to open it up to anybody to either change the conversation or kind of have parting words of things that you're trying to achieve on the marketing front or learn, or anybody just have at it. Or if Dani has words of wisdom to leave us with.
Well, I will say this was delightful for me because you all have such different businesses. And such different perspectives, and at the same time have found a place that is underserved or not served at all, and have huge opportunity in front of you. So at least for me, that's one thing that kind of binds you all together in this conversation, which makes me really thrilled to talk with each and every one of you as entrepreneurs. And I do see that you all have maybe a different marketing path or approach, but a ton of road in front of you that no one else is tapping into. So that makes me really excited just to talk with all of you.
Thank you. Thanks for your thoughts. Really helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my pleasure. And Jonathan knows where to reach me. So if you guys have additional questions or something you're thinking about later, I'm happy to reply also.
Great.
Cool.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks very much, Dani.
Thank you everybody for joining. Next week we're gonna have Kathleen Baxley, is I think her last name. Anyways, it's gonna be on finance and valuation. So like creating financial models and valuations and that sort of thing. And then the week after, it's gonna be on B2B sales. So, and then we're going to also do it on December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. And I realize, some of you probably won't join, but it'll be just, kind of just us talking through how to be you know, what's it like being a founder during the holidays, and maybe things are a little bit more stressful because things are not secure. And then the 31st is the following week, and we'll do resolutions. So founder resolutions. So